Good afternoon, everyone. How are we? I hope everybody's having an okay day. It's super rainy where we are right here, which is not super fun. So I hope we're all having a good day. I wanted to come on and talk about a situation that I think a lot of us are experiencing right now, and that is how to get your kids to do their schoolwork. And I'm sure we're having a lot of pushback, and there can be some fighting. There can be some pretty big emotions around the schoolwork that we're trying to get done. And so I had a call yesterday with a group of parents that brought this subject up and really were struggling with it. And I thought I would bring some of the ideas that I talked to them about here so you guys could use them. So, first of all, I want you to really think about why are you struggling, right? So, what is really going on behind the scenes? What are you thinking about your kids? What are you thinking about yourself? What are you thinking about what your expectations are? So, really, really kind of go back into your own thoughts and figure out what's really bothering you, what's causing frustration in your own mind. Also, I want you to consider what is your responsibility in getting your kids to do their schoolwork, and what is your child's responsibility? So, as parents, as people, we don't have the ability to control the behavior of others. We have only the ability to control our own thoughts and our own feelings. So, what I want to offer to you is that it's super important to figure out what your responsibility is in this situation. We cannot make our child do their schoolwork, right? So, it's sort of like when you have a picky child who doesn't like to eat healthy food. And all of the nutritionists recommend that as parents, we only have control over certain things in regards to food and meals. And those things are we are responsible for what is on the plate, how much is on the plate, and when we serve the food. But the child's responsibility is what they eat, how much they eat, and we cannot control those things. That is something that they are responsible for. So in regards to schoolwork, right? What is your responsibility? And so this is going to be different for each parent. Each parent might have a different idea as to how much they want to set limits and boundaries on this situation. So, really quick, if you're new here and you haven't seen me on a live, my name's Adrienne Bishop. I am a certified positive discipline educator and life coach. I help parents be calmer and more confident so that they can raise responsible, mature adults. So, this is the perfect time for us to be working on this kind of situation because we are really raising our kids right now. We are doing everything for our kids, right? So we have no longer have teachers, we no longer have friends, we no longer have school, and so we are basically filling all of these roles. So this is a really important thing to ask yourself: what is your responsibility in regards to your child's schoolwork? Do you want to be responsible for actually doing the work? Do you want to do the work for them? And I'm going to guess no. So if that's the case, what do you want to say as a set as limits? And these limits can look super different for every kid, actually. So each kid might have a different learning style that you need to adjust to, right? So this might not be something that you can just blanket and say, all of my kids are going to work with this specific schedule every single day, done, and we're done. We just do it. So I just want to recommend that you think about that. So I'm not going to necessarily tell you what your responsibility is, but then I want you to think about whose responsibility is the schoolwork actually getting done. And then when it doesn't get done, or if it doesn't get done, who is responsible for the consequences of that? What are the consequences of that? Hopefully there's consequences with the school. That's what we're hoping, right? So like our teachers are the ones that are checking our kids' work, hopefully. And they're the ones that are going to probably come to us and say, hey, this isn't getting done. And, but they are the ones that are ultimately checking off the kids' work. All right. And so what you want to do is you want to let go of that pressure and put it instead on your child. Your child is the one that needs the responsibility for getting their own work done, especially if they're older. When they're in kindergarten and maybe first grade, second grade, you might be able to take a little more responsibility on. But if they are older, we want to understand that this is an important learning situation for them. We're all learning in this situation, but they are the ones responsible for getting the work done ultimately. Okay. Also, so what you want to do is you want to use some positive discipline tools. And one of the really great tools is called curiosity questions, right? So instead of telling your child, this has to be done at this time, this has to be done at this time, then you can do this. We want to make sure that we use questions that cause them to think as opposed to fight us. Okay. So you can use curiosity questions in the way of, what is your plan for getting your schoolwork done before 5 p.m.? If they are, 6 or 7 and above, you can work together with them on this plan. They can come up with a, pretty decent answer for this question. And then what you want to do is you want to make sure that you give them choices in the matter, that you solve problems together as a family. So if work is not getting done, figure out why and talk about it as a team. What's going on? What's going on that is causing some, things to get in the way. So those are some of the positive discipline tools I would recommend using. Use choices, use enforceables, like 2 limited choices. Would you like to do your math or your reading right now? Would you like me to help you, or would you like to do it on your own? And just make sure that you're giving the child some control and some say over their day. If they don't have say or control over what they're doing in their day, they're going to fight you more easily and more frequently. So what I also want to bring up is that obviously we don't know how to handle this situation because we haven't had to deal with this yet. This is a completely new situation for both parents and children. And so I want you to approach this homeschooling like an experiment. Okay? I don't want you to approach this homeschooling situation like a test. This is an experiment. You cannot fail, and you cannot, you can succeed in small steps, but you cannot fail. Okay? So if that's the case, and all you need to do is just keep trying and keep experimenting and seeing what works and seeing what doesn't work, and then taking what works and continue doing it and getting rid of what doesn't work, then that feels so much better, right? So if I look at this homeschooling thing as an experiment and not as a test, the pressure is off. The stress is lowered, right? So I encourage you, be curious, be open to learning from your children moment by moment and learning what works for you, what works for them, what doesn't. Be open to learning from each other. And you also want to make sure that you're getting curious. Get curious. If your child is frustrated or, defiant and won't do their work, get curious. What could be going on underneath that is really causing the problems, right? Usually it's not the work. Usually it's not literally the schoolwork. Usually it's something deeper. So I also want to bring up the idea that emotionally, this situation is volatile. Okay. Kids don't have each other. They don't have their normal structure. They don't have their normal routine. They're stuck in their house with their siblings. This situation is not really an easy situation for anyone, especially kids who don't have the tools that we have to cope. They don't have the coping skills like we do. So in that sense, we want to make sure that we're supporting our kids in their emotional health. And when you approach schoolwork like a test, you're going to bring up a lot of power struggles. It's just going to create more and more power struggles because you feel like you're failing the test if they don't complete their work. So if you have that kind of feeling, guess what you're going to do? You're going to force your kids, you're going to manipulate them, you're going to control them, and it's all unconscious. You're not trying to do these things, but it's going to really cause a big struggle. So I want to recommend that you let go of some of the expectations you might have in the situations that might be causing you pain and suffering, and only keep the thoughts that really help you to kind of feel calmer and a little bit more accepting of how they might be dealing with the situation. Because what's going to happen is your child's going to become emotional. They're going to start to miss their kids. They're going to start to grieve. They're going to start to get upset about what's happening in the world or what's happening to them. And they're not going to be able to do their work. Okay, so their logical brain's going to shut down and their emotional brain's going to take over, and they will not be able to do their schoolwork until their emotional brain has really, till their emotional brain has calmed down. So a lot of times what I do is when my kids are struggling, I take a break, I take a step back, and I say to myself, how can I help them to recover emotionally right now? How can I help them to learn how to cope with these problems right now? And also, I focus on my relationship with my child and connecting with them over making them do schoolwork. Okay. So I make sure that I put my relationship with my child before getting schoolwork done. And that doesn't mean that I don't set limits, and that doesn't mean I don't hold them accountable for getting their stuff done. But I'm flexible. I try to be flexible. And if they're struggling one day or 1 hour or 1 minute and they cannot do their work because they just cannot emotionally get there, take a break. Just let them take a break. When Ella went back to school for the first day after spring break, she was a disaster. And we took a mental health day. We just did not do work that day. I knew we were going to have to catch up the next day, and she was well aware, but I knew we weren't going to get anywhere. She was too emotional. So I want to recommend to you that this is the time for you to honor your relationship with your child over the schoolwork getting done perfectly or completely. So I'm sure that some of you are thinking to yourself, well, that's nice and sounds great, but the teachers are going to be upset if I don't get the schoolwork done, or they're going to get in trouble or something to that effect. The teachers are emailing me and bothering me about it. So what do? I encourage you to be really open and really honest with your teachers. Okay. They are in the same situation as you are. They probably have kids at home that they're trying to get to do schoolwork, and they are working. So most likely they will get it. Most likely they will understand, but we need to be in communication with the teachers, and we need to make sure they know what's going on. So what I did was I emailed Ella's teacher that day, and I said, hey, I just want to let you know Ella's struggling. She's really upset. She's having a little bit of a breakdown today. We're going to start tomorrow, and I'll make sure that, we have a schedule for starting tomorrow and we get our work done. And so he was aware of that. He totally understood. And I feel like most of the teachers are going to be in that position too. And also, I want to recommend that if your child is struggling to be independent and work independently, and you're not really capable, willing, or able to be the teacher figure, where you're constantly teaching and sitting there with them the whole time, I would talk to your child's teacher about it and say, hey, is there any way we could set up more of a school situation where we're going on calls and we're having small meetings and we're talking about the material more, and we're having these little get-togethers? Because when I did that, my daughter's teacher had started a morning meeting. And so every morning they get up and they have a meeting at 8:50, and then they can start their work at 9. And then he started small group meetings on specific topics. So he has a reading small group, a writing small group, and a math small group. And this has been an amazing addition to help Ella be more motivated to really focus on her work. It's no longer just busy work when you do that. It actually has meaning behind it. And so I just would recommend that you reach out to the teachers. And if you're really struggling and your kids are really struggling, get them to help you. They're here to support you. And even if they don't do exactly what you say, you can still get them involved a little bit more. So again, I want you to really remember that your relationship with your child is the priority. Your emotional health and your child's emotional health is the priority in this situation. You want to make sure that if you're fighting over schoolwork all the time, or you're really having a lot of power struggles, take a step back and adjust. Every day might be different. Every day might look different. Every day might have different number of breaks, different placement for the different subjects that your kids are doing. That's okay. There is no rule book for this. Okay. And there probably never will be. This is going to be a very strange situation that we're just going through. So I just want you to remember that this is not a test. It's an experiment. I would really encourage you to remain open, remain curious, remain in a learning mindset. So it's almost like when I created this business, I didn't know how to create a business. It was starting from ground up. I just had to take action and then adjust and then try something else and then fail and then try something else and then fail. So when we are in a situation like this as homeschoolers, we're going to feel pretty crappy because we're going to feel like we're failing a lot. Okay. And that is part of what we need to learn how to manage. Knowing that failing in this situation is just part of the deal is going to help us get through it in a way that feels better. So if something doesn't work, you just get curious about it. You remain open to learning from it, and you don't take it to mean there's something wrong with you as a parent, there's something wrong with you as a teacher, there's something wrong with your child. I want you to really get away from making this mean anything about you or your child. This is a situation you probably never will be in again, and you never have been. So we're just going to take it one day at a time, 1 minute at a time, and readjust as much as possible. Okay. Let me just look at my notes and make sure I didn't forget anything. Okay. So a lot of times when my kids are struggling, I let them have their emotions and I validate them, and I have a little coaching session with coaching. They don't know they're being coached, but I help them to figure out what's going on. Like my daughter, she decided that she didn't want to do this polar ice cap experiment writing situation. She said it was stupid. I don't want to do it. This is stupid. She threw a fit. This is dumb. I don't want to do this. So I knew that underneath that statement was an emotional, something that she emotionally could not handle. And so we kind of got through a couple scenarios. I asked her, if can you continue doing your work when you think that the polar ice story is stupid? She said, no, I can't. I just can't get past that. And I said, okay, let's talk about like what's going on. Are you feeling upset? Are you feeling angry about something? And we kind of delved a little deeper. It turns out she was just super upset that she didn't know what the future was going to hold. She didn't know when she was going to go back to school. She didn't know when she was going to see her friends. And she was just like, the motivation just disappeared for her. And so, I just talked her through it. I said, I am so not sure what's going to happen either. And it's not easy. It's not easy to be in this situation. It's not easy to be an independent worker when you're used to being around your friends. And so I understand what you're going through, and it totally makes sense to me. And we had this little conversation and we connected, and our relationship just got so much better. And then guess what? She went and did her work. So I just want to encourage you to let yourself and your child have those little emotional breaks, and to really work on connecting with them. Even if you just sit next to them while they're watching a TV show, or sit next to them while they're doing a little bit of screen time, just for a few minutes, 15 minutes, and connect, ask them questions about it. This is a chance for you to do that, because now that they're around more, you can. And so you'll be surprised about how much better they listen when you're really engaged in what's going on with them, and how, like, what pain they're in and how their pain is affecting them, and letting them go at their own pace. Okay, so if you guys have any questions and you're on, let me know. I hope this helps, and it's kind of a long live. But if you are watching the replay, #replay, ask me questions. I'd be happy to answer them. And just so you know, I am starting a parenting support group, and it's going to be a toddler group and an elementary school and middle school group. And so look out for posts about that, emails about that. I'd love to have you join me if you feel really that you just need a little bit of extra support in this kind of really, isolated time where we don't have a lot of people to talk to. So I will be running those Wednesdays and Thursdays, and I will be sending out emails and posting in the group. So take a look, and go to my website if you feel like that's something you want to give a try. All right. So have a great day. Thanks for coming on, guys. I will talk to you. Have a good weekend. Talk to you soon. Bye.